Day 1, Chapter 8, Travel Day. Charlie has the same headphones as I do, except the music coming from his is some kind of salsa music. "Charlie, it's 3:30 in the morning," my mom says. "Turn it down." He pretends not to hear her. My mom scoots over from her seat on the train and takes off his headphones, but he leans away. "Hey," he says, clutching them, "my music!" "Turn it down. You're going to blow out your eardrums." "No!" My mom doesn't back down. She plucks them off my brother's head in one swift motion. I'm surprised. She usually doesn't confront my brother like that. She usually tries to talk to him first. "Charlie," I said, "turn it down. You're going to hurt your ears." Charlie mumbles something about my mom getting stuck in a tube of chocolate. "Oh, now I'm Augustus Goop?" She tickles Charlie to lighten the mood. Charlie sinks into the train seat as we ride to our connecting bus to Philly. By 4:30 we arrive at the airport. Charlie recognizes the stop and tells my mom. "Thank you, sweetheart," she says. Charlie never stays angry for too long. There are people already here even though it's early. There's always somewhere to go, I guess. "Where are you flying?" asks the airline guy. My mom hands him our huge bag and then our tickets. He checks off my mom's ID and looks at me. "Your ID, sir?" "He's my son," my mom says. "He's 14. The guy looks at me like he can't believe what my mom just said, but he returns our tickets and waves us on. Charlie asks to see his boarding pass, and my mom hands it to him. "Boarding is at 5:35. Flight leaves at 6 o'clock. Gate B16, he says. We walk to the sliding glass doors, and my mom takes off Charlie's coat and then her own. I leave mine on. Charlie examines the plane ticket and looks up at the signs. "We have to go to security check over there," he says, pointing. We take the escalator up, following Charlie's lead. Even though my mom works here, my brother takes pride in knowing where he is. Like I said, he's been studying the airport layout for days. The security guy doesn't make a comment about my size or look at Charlie funny. He just hands my mom her ID back and takes the next person in line. It must be cool to have a job like that. You don't have to make a comment every time you see someone. You just do your job and carry on. Charlie moves exactly where a security lady directs him. I catch her smiling and winking at Charlie. Charlie approaches the body scanner and watches the guy in front of him step into the machine and put his hands over his head. The machine makes a whirring sound, and Charlie's eyes light up. Awesome! The guy steps out and continues to walk through security. "All right, baby," the lady says to Charlie, "your turn." Charlie puts his hands over his head and smiles from ear to ear as the machine scans him. I think I even see him bounce a little from excitement. My mom goes through, and then I do. The lady tells us to have a good trip. We get our carry-on bags off the conveyor belt and head to the gates. I look around, completely shocked. The airport is like its own universe. There are restaurants and shops and sitting areas where people are just waiting to board. Charlie points because he wants to make sure we're at the gate on time. "We have an hour and a half before our plane leaves, honey," my mom says. But Charlie ignores her and tells us to hurry. I look at the planes outside, lit by the overhead lights. My stomach starts to gurgle. I feel sweat forming on my forehead. My mom looks at me. "Are you feeling okay?" I nod. "Take off your coat, honey. It's warm in here." Charlie hurries to our gate. "B16, he says, rushing to a window to stare at the plane parked outside. "Look, it's our plane!" My mom puts our bags across 3 seats in the waiting area and sits down. Charlie calls me over. I watch other planes taking off in the distance, and I can feel sweat forming on my eyebrows again. My neck starts to itch. I look at Charlie and try to smile. "Marcus," he says, "you gonna throw up?" I don't say anything. The floor starts moving slowly from side to side, and I think if I move I'm going to fall through and break into a million pieces. My mom brings me a bottle of water that she buys from the newsstand close to our gate. I try not to think about how the water costs $4 here. Instead, I finish it in 3 gulps and tell her thanks. "Had me scared for a minute there," she says, feeling my neck. Even though I'm taller than my mom, it feels nice when she rubs my neck like she did when I was a kid. I don't know what happened just now. I got all dizzy and couldn't move my feet. Weird. My mom greets a few people working at the gate. They look over at us and smile. Charlie waves and smiles back. I nod. Eventually, the lady calls out some stuff about boarding first class and military personnel. A guy in army fatigues walks past us, holding a small duffel bag. His name is stitched onto his uniform. R. Hernandez. I wonder where he's going after Miami. Next, she calls people with disabilities and people with small children. I see my mom move through the line toward the lady taking tickets. She turns back and motions for us to follow. Up to now, Charlie has been leading us through the airport, but he's suddenly stopped and won't leave my side. He looks up and watches me for a minute. Come on, he says, and takes my hand. We get to my mom, and she introduces us to her coworkers. This is Marcus and Charlie, my mom says to the lady. Oh my, what gorgeous boys, Mel. Hi, boys. My name is Margie. This is Rhonda, and that grumpy fellow over there is Steve. I'm not grumpy, Steve says as he makes an exaggerated grumpy face. Charlie cracks up. He's grumpy. About time you took those boys on a trip, Rhonda says. Yeah, my mom says, looking at us, then back at Rhonda. You boys have a great flight, okay? Says Margie. Take care of your mama, Steve says, patting Charlie on the back. I nod. They all seem nice. We walk inside this cave-like tunnel, and my head starts spinning again. It feels like I'm going to get trapped in here with whatever little oxygen there is. Marcus, take off your coat. It's too hot. We shuffle closer and closer to the plane. Charlie notices my sweating. Hey, man, he says, don't freak out. I won't, tell him. My brother, the motivational speaker. I try not to think too hard about where I am and focus more on where we're going. I think of what it will be like in Puerto Rico. There are lots of beaches and old forts from what I read online. The ocean surrounding Puerto Rico looks like it's made of blue crystals. I've been to lakes and stuff in the summer, but nothing that has those bright colors. When we finally get to the plane, it has a stale kind of smell to it, like a mixture of freshly brewed coffee and leftover sandwiches. There's a quiet hum inside, and a guy in a blue suit greets us as we make our way inside. Well, hello, the guy says to Charlie. Hi, Mel. Hi, Sam, she replies. Sam takes something out of a metal drawer and hands it to Charlie. This is for our honorary pilots, he said. It's a tiny airplane pin. Charlie smiles. Say thank you to Sam, sweetheart, my mom says. Thank you, Sam. My mom pins the little airplane to Charlie's shirt. Then he turns to me. I'm captain. You obey me. Yeah, right, I tell him. Come on, Captain, get your butt to your seat. We're toward the middle, by the wing. I can't believe the huge airplane I saw through the window feels so tiny inside. I can barely walk down the aisle. We wait while a guy takes off his suit jacket and hangs it in a closet by his seat. His seat is gray and seems bigger and shinier than the ones in the back, which are blue and don't look as comfortable. My mom looks at the top of the aisles for our seat number. Here we are, she says, seats 20, A, B, and C. Marcus, you take the aisle because your legs are longer. And take off your coat! I help put our bags in the overhead compartment. I make sure my backpack's secure because I have Danny's camera in it. Why did I agree to bring it? I close the overhead bin and finally sit down. These seats are way too small. My mom takes the middle so Charlie can watch the plane take off from the window. She takes both of our hands in hers. People start filling in the other seats. After a few announcements and some safety video about what to do if the plane crashes into the ocean, the pilot asks the crew to get ready for takeoff. The plane chugs along while Charlie keeps pointing at the other planes going airborne. I start sweating again. I want him to stop calling that out. I close my eyes, but my head spins faster. Here I am, big, bad Marcus Vega, totally afraid of flying. The engines roar to life, and the plane skips and then breaks into a sprint. The whole cabin rumbles and shakes, and my head sinks back into the little blue headrest. I close my eyes again. Marcus, are you going to faint if you don't take off your coat? I start pulling at my sleeves. My arm stretches across the aisle and accidentally bumps someone. Sorry, I say. It was a soldier from before. No worries, he says, pulling the coat to help me get my arm out. Thanks, I say. My mom squeezes my hand and puts her head on my shoulder. Then she kisses Charlie on the forehead. I open my eyes for a second and see her watching us both as the plane rises higher and higher into the clouds. I peek out the window. The buildings and the houses look like toys you can pick up between 2 fingers. I glance at my mom and then out the window again. The city gets more and more distant. She looks back and smiles. "Go, team, go," she says.